Hey everybody, good Tuesday morning. This is First Warn Storm Team Chief Meteorologist Brad Panovich. It's another day and another day of severe weather expected. This is kind of a weird setup where we've got an actual pretty strong cold front and a warm front. These two kind of meeting up are what's going to play a little bit havoc with our area. Now, there's not going to be a widespread severe weather event, but there's a narrow corridor that I'm watching potentially for some strong and severe storms. So let's start with the surface map first because this is important. Because if you look at the map, you can see we've got a boundary here. What I mean by that is there's some kind of warm front, stationary front, boundary front right in here because temperatures to the north of it are in the 50s and 60s. To the south, it's into the 70s. This is also a boundary of dew points where there's really dry air to the north and moist air to the south. What I expect to happen today and where is going to be the focus for severe weather is going to be this boundary. It's going to be moving to the north. At the same time, a strong cold front is coming in from the west. So where this warm front meets up with the cold front, we call that a triple point. So as this is pushing east and this is pushing north, anywhere along this boundary and then along this cold front, will have the potential for severe storms. That's the concern. So it'll be all about watching where that boundary sets up during the afternoon hours. Right now, it appears, just looking at the wind speeds, we've got northeast and east winds, and then down here we've got southwest winds. So it's somewhere right in here, and the temperatures and dew points kind of show you where it's at. So watching that this afternoon will be key. So for that reason, Storm Prediction Center has highlighted that area with the medium threat, and it includes pretty much along that warm front and then the cold front. So you can see it matches up pretty well, but will that warm front be down here? Will it be here? Will it be up here? So there's a little bit of wiggle room there, especially for tornado potential, because there's not a huge tornado potential, but I could see one or two storms that track along that front having the potential to produce a tornado or two. We're going to go to the Futurecast here in a minute, but let me go to a different graphic. I want to show you the overall impacts here. So damaging winds, our biggest concern, because we're going to see a strong, I think a bowing or some kind of a linear segment, we call it basically a squall line of storms. That would definitely push wind. So by far the biggest impact would be wind. But notice the tornado threat is elevated a little bit, much more than we've seen in the last two events. So certainly I think we'll have a higher risk there. Maybe a 2 to 4% chance of a tornado within 25 miles. All depends on the location of that warm front. Can't rule out some hail. I don't think we'll see some prolific hailers like we had last night, but certainly can't rule it out. This is the overall timing again, just to show you, and I'll go back to this graphic again, but you kind of see that timing right now, basically in the 2 p.m. to 8 or 9 p.m. time frame. So the question here is, will we see some storms ahead of it? I don't think so. I think it's going to be when the warm front gets up here and the cold front gets a little more active. Now, this could shift either later or earlier based on the timing and everything, but that's kind of what my thinking is right now. So let's go back to the Futurecast, because I think the Futurecast will tell you quite a bit about what's going to happen. All right, let's go right to the Futurecast. Here's 11 a.m. We'll go into the afternoon hours, and so I'm going to put this out here. We'll stop this about, let's go 3 o'clock. So we're probably going to see some storms developing ahead of the cold front back here to the west. The key part here is, I think, what is going on with this warm front to the south, because somewhere in here, whoops, let me grab my telestrator. Somewhere in here, there's a warm front. Is it here? Is it here? And here's the cold front. So these are the question marks as far as this afternoon. But overall, the threat looks pretty low this afternoon until we get to the evening hours. I'm going to stop this around 5 o'clock. So we've got the cold front getting active here, moving into the mountains. That's what's driving most of those storms. We'll go to about 6 o'clock. Okay, so now we see the warm front possibly in here. So you can kind of see the orientation. Here comes the front. Here's maybe the warm front. So anywhere in this corridor, that's where you have your enhanced chance for severe storms and maybe rotating storms that could produce a tornado. But again, this is just the guidance. We don't know exactly where it'll set up. And then look at that line moving through by 7 o'clock, 8 o'clock, 9, 8:30. Then we go to 9 o'clock, and there it is pushing off to the east. So you can kind of see, that's why I kind of highlighted that evening hour right around dinner time seems to be the main threat for this as it's pushing through. Let me show you the rotational tracks real quickly. For some reason, I don't have the STP values, but I'm going to stop this right here, right around 8 o'clock. So this is one of the main lines coming through, maybe slightly before. Not a lot of rotational tracks, but you can see somewhere in the vicinity of that warm front, which is going to intersect here with the cold front, this is the area to watch. So, basically all afternoon, I'm going to be keeping an eye on where that cold front is. So let's go back to this map, and the warm front, cold front combo is going to be key. If I look carefully, I can kind of see where the cold front is. It's probably right in here, and the warm front is like in here somewhere. So this whole mess will push to the east, and wherever these intersect is always an area of greatest concern for me. We call that the triple point, and that is an area certainly I'll be keeping an eye. So let me turn all this stuff off real quickly here, and I'm gonna turn on our Futurecast here, because I want to look at a couple parameters here. So let's go through the model guidance again, and we'll go into the afternoon. So there's, 6 p.m., 7 p.m., 8 p.m. A couple things to notice. It looks like a Boeing segment, maybe a supercell there. That's the question mark. What kind of parameters do we have in place there as this moves through? So let's look at that updraft helicity or rotational tracks. And you can see it looks like this cell to the north has got supercellular characteristics. And remember, this one right here. So this is the one I'm talking about. This one's a supercell. And that's where the tornado threat's going to come from. There's going to be one or two of these that are going to line up along the warm front somewhere in here. And just quickly, let's look at the temperatures just to see. And you can see the warm front somewhere right in that vicinity as well. I'll back it up. And you can see there's our warm front. I mean, it's pretty clear to see. So there's a leading edge of the storms. Here's the warm front somewhere in there. So that vicinity there. Now, is it there? Could it be here? That's the question mark. Sometimes when you look at this guidance, and I'm showing it to you just to give you an idea, don't get ultra specific. Remember, all models are wrong, but some models are useful. What the model is trying to tell us or guide us is not tell us exactly there will be a tornado there or a severe thunderstorm. It's telling us somewhere in this vicinity. There's a range of possibilities. There's always uncertainty, and you want an upper limit and a lower limit of that range. It's not trying to give you a deterministic output. It is showing you that, but that's not the reality. We want an ensemble. So what we're looking at, think about a hurricane tracks. It's not a straight line. It's a cone, right? Somewhere in that cone. So somewhere in that area, we expect there to be a severe storm. So for basically from Greensboro down to Columbia, we know somewhere in here tonight that potential exists. Now it's going to be narrow. As we get closer, we'll be able to narrow that up a little bit. But I think that's the cell to watch somewhere in there along the warm front. And then obviously the Boeing segment that's pushing in from the west. So let's look real quickly at some of the significant tornado parameters just to see how high or low they're going to be. So real quickly, let's look at the significant tornado parameter. And the beauty of this product is that it shows you a lot. It's what we call a composite index. It takes several things like CAPE, shear, helicity, and it all kind of combines it into one product to show the ingredients for tornado. The reason that it's an effective tool is because it shows you a lot about what's going on in the atmosphere. Because if you look at this real quickly, it's actually showing you where the warm front is right there. Because along the warm front, we've got some ingredients for rotating storms, and then it shows you the cold front back there. So watch as this goes into the afternoon hours. So we're going to stop this. I'm going to stop this right around 2 o'clock. So we'll stop this at 2 o'clock. So this is 2 p.m. Notice we've got some higher values. And remember, this is a scale from 0 to 10 of the ingredients available for tornadic storms or rotating storms. So notice we're getting a little spike with the warm front, though there's probably not any storms around to tap into that. Remember, this is just the ingredients. If there's not a storm there, then it's like having fuel and not an engine. So there's nothing for it to go into. But watch as we get closer to the storms coming in. Remember, I showed you earlier, they're coming in around 4, 5, 6 o'clock. We start getting towards 5 o'clock, 6 o'clock, 7 o'clock as the line is moving through. Notice here, remember that supercell I showed you? Look at that. Right there. It's got a little spike, but also notice a significant uptick in STP, anywhere from 2 to 4 on our scale down here, from a scale from 0 to 10. So the warm front is showing up nicely. It's somewhere, at least on the guidance, it thinks it's somewhere in here. And then here's the cold front. So you can see how the warm front, cold front combination, that triple point, if you will, is a key part to where the severe weather develops this evening. And then we go towards 8 p.m. Wow, really spikes, especially towards the Sandhills, 9 p.m., 10, 11. And then overnight, the good news is these will not be overnight storms. These are going to be evening storms. So the good news, if there is any good news, is that this is going to be primarily an evening event. The bad news is we'll be watching that cold front very carefully to see where those storms pop up. So again, I'm going to leave you with this graphic because the timing, and again, Looking at some of what I just showed you, I probably would hedge my bets a little bit more in this 6 to 9 p.m. time frame. That's kind of my thinking right now. There's going to be pretty sharp cutoff because once the front gets through, it's done. But that could shift an hour or two this way. So just a heads up. It's not written in stone. That's why at the very bottom, you'll see that I always put stay weather aware. Timing the exact impacts could change. Please stay weather aware, especially between 3 p.m. and 9 p.m. That's the highest risk for severe storms. The good news is you can get some sleep tonight. This won't happen while you sleep. The bad news is another round of severe weather. But I will caution you, we are in the midst of severe weather season. April and May are the peak of our severe weather season, even into June for downbursts. So this is kind of typical. I just think with us being stuck at home and with COVID-19, we're very, very attuned or hypersensitive to what's going on weather-wise. And for whatever reason, this year, we've definitely had an uptick in severe weather over some of the years in the past. Be weather aware. I'll be on air today at 4, 5, and 6 and have you through the whole night in case anything happens.